Of course, this thing was recorded a bit in a troubled time when I was in the process of moving from the big city in Germany to the small village in Italy, which was certainly reflected in a lot of things we did on this album. In the end, was stitched together from many recordings. In the end, 3 or 4 recordings, because we were not really satisfied with some things out there, mainly the drums. So we stitched it together, and we had a lot of help, especially from the engineer in Italy, Dario. Cannot be praised high enough. He sort of played some of the drum parts by stitching them together in a way that we could live with it. But one by one, we came to record this. Originally, we planned to record part of it in Germany. What we did, at least we brought the things together, and it started with that there was a version of Brown Eyes, which is an old song. I wrote this when I was 25, and it was deeply dripping from irony. Otherwise, I couldn't sing this anymore. And I wanted to have female vocals on it. I heard the voice of Chiara Jacobi on a song on the web, and I said, okay, that's what I want. So I contacted her, and we said, okay, we record this. We do the basic tracks in Germany, and we send you the stuff to record the things here, just the overdubs of your vocals. In the end, we ended up that I came down here and we recorded the vocals for Brown Eyes, and also a violin solo for Same Place, Same Things. We wanted to have a pedal steel solo in the beginning, but no pedal steel player ever managed to play anything out. So we ended up saying, okay, well, I play the second part of the solo, the second half, and the first part is gonna be a violin solo, just a few bars. I think it's just 8 or 10 bars, something like this. And it fit nicely, and it blends together. It comes from the relatively clean violin solo into this distorted wah-wah solo, and it's a nice thing. We came here with what was then still considered to be a band. 3 people. We came here to play a few gigs. In the end, it was just 2 gigs that we played, and to record the things in the small studio of Paolo and Walter Bormida, and Paolo from Yo Yo Mundi. Just wanted to record 4 songs, maybe do some overdubs on older things. Before we realized that this was not a band, this is mainly a project of Jörg and me. We've been playing together for, I think, 30 years now, a bit more than 30 years, and we had different guests, mainly different drummers. So we decided, or realized more, that we can come up with the concept of just doing this with him and me and guests. So everybody could be a guest. In the end, we had a few guests on this record, mainly 3 guests on this record. We had 2 different drummers, and we had Chiara, who provided a couple of things. Also the selection of the songs, because in the end, what we did on this here is we started this not with Absent Now and Then that we want to record, which is more a crowd pleaser full of 70s references and a bass solo and a fuzz solo on guitar, and not really a song for the studio. And she came up with the idea, said there's one thing that you play in the beginning of this set with this what is this? We said it pretends to be in control, and she provided some ideas. In the end, mainly almost adding a string quartet in the chorus, and also a lot of vocals, that sounds a bit like a phasing. Many things, and some violin in the verses, which led Jörg to say, oh, you know, are we Kansas now, or do we play Dust in the Wind? Or no, we don't. So it still sounds like us, but it's not that tight and refined anymore. It's more open and a bit more tricky, I would say. So pretends to be in control. The old bullshit lyrics, not really sophisticated. It's an older song, it's 7 or 8 years old, that we did with many drummers ago in Hamburg. But we recorded it here, and it turned out really nicely. It's tight, and it opens up with the violin parts and everything else. Followed by Same Place, Same Things. That's the song where we had this violin solo added in Walter Bormida, and the basic tracks were recorded in Hamburg in a nicely way. A lot of acoustic guitars. We had this remixed by Dario, so to bring in more of the clarity of these acoustic guitars. A lot of acoustic guitars. I doubled most of the parts with a guitar and Nashville tuning, so it's the basic part. Sounds a bit like a very open 12-string guitar. It's not really new, the idea, but I liked it. Followed by Breeze, a more heavy thing. It's like, I think it's almost 6 minutes, or more than 6 minutes. It's more of a progressive thing. Very tightly played, but very progressive, with a lot of keyboards that we added, because in the end we decided when we were in Italy, we're not going to let the keyboards be done by Jörg and me, because we both are not really the sophisticated keyboard players, but we let Chiara help us, and she played this also in a very digitized way for an Hammond application, and we had a more refined keyboard parts, especially in Breeze, where we had a lot of things, a lot of overdubs, acoustic guitars, and doubling the electric guitars, different kind of keyboards and layered vocals, and it turned out really nicely, really nicely. We added one song from the first recording in Hamburg because we were very pleased with what the drummer did, Michael Smkeshevich, who sadly Mick Taylor our band, so he left because he thought he didn't want to play the music, he wanted to play different music, not realizing that you don't lead our band, you get fired. But he was not fired, we would have kept him. Anyway, he was a nice drummer, and so Nothing About Her is really something that is open, and I like the way it is played. I really like the way it is played because it's heavy, it's tight, and there's a lot of layered acoustic guitars. No keyboards, absolutely no keyboards. It was played with a big amplifier, this blonde quick rod with a 4x12 box, and monitored in Hamburg, really nice. And we had it remixed by Dario, which bring out a lot of clarity of the acoustic guitar. I like the song, I still like it. It's, I don't know, I have 7-8 different parts. It's probably even from this tricky way the bass is playing, probably one of the most progressive songs that we have, but just 4 minutes long. Followed by Brown Eyes, which is really a crowd pleaser because it's, like I told you, ironic lyrics. Many years ago, 30 years ago almost, not 30 years, I'm not that old, but 25 years ago, wrote this song, and with the female vocals on top, and it turns out really nicely. With layered acoustic guitar, this really deep, twangy surf guitar solo, and I like it. It's not even, I think it's not even 3 minutes long, but I like it. We added a lot of keyboards and added in a more classical 70s poppy way. I still love it. Utility of Pain is probably the second most progressive one, with a long violin solo, with layered vocals and with harmony vocals and a lot of acoustic guitars, and it's long, with a 5/4 part, a 6/8 part. I think in the end it's not even measurable. The last part with drums were really sort of done by Dario because he fixed the things that we couldn't do in the studio. It's really nice. It's really nice, and I love it because especially it's a challenge to play it live. If we play it live, it's really a challenge to do it because you have to be concentrated, which is easier than to play a straightforward rocker, which we don't really like anyway. We have a new guest on these songs. We would have recorded it, should have recorded it with the drummer. It's Nicolas Mania, a young guy, makes us look very old, and he's a terrific drummer. In all the last live videos he played the songs. Sadly, these live gigs that we did months after recording were already influenced by the coronavirus situation, so that means that we had to cancel one gig and we had empty gigs because people were afraid and they stayed home. But we will record more stuff with him soon. We have a lot of songs that we can record, a lot of songs that we're working on. But if we say in this was played with me on, always start with me, vocals, guitar and keyboards, with Jörg on bass and a bit of keyboards, with 2 different drummers, Michael Smkeshevich on drums, and on a few songs with Thorsten Sörensen. On 3 songs he came down to Italy with us to record the songs, and Chiara Jacobi helped us with vocals, keyboards and violin, and live on acoustic guitar. So we cannot say that there's a story behind these songs. Troubled time, moving from Germany to Italy, recording the things in Italy, moving from having the whole band as a band to realizing that we're not a project. We're just a nice little project. And we will have a lot of guests, and I'd like to have more guests to have a more refined things. We thought about having a Valama on these songs. Even the player was interested, Murat Ertel, but we'll probably have him later on songs that are a bit more open and not so close to rock music anymore. But it turned out nicely, so you can see that, come on, played with a trusty Les Paul, with a trusty Squier jazz bass, with a nice old violin, a nice blonde amplifier, still not very digitalized, and downrun reverb, and a lot of studio things, and still quite organic, because we say we're not great players, we're just passionate players. So, who wants to have it, contact us. I still love the record.